Have you ever found yourself trapped in an endless cycle of procrastination? That agonizing feeling that time is passing while you remain stuck, watching the hours slip through your fingers? Procrastination is like a shadow that follows us, whispering that tomorrow will be easier. But what if I told you there's a way to break this chain? Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling in control of your life, where each completed task is one step closer to your goals. Now, take a moment to reflect. What would you set aside if you could eliminate this barrier? How would your routine look if procrastination no longer had a place? Every choice you make, every decision shapes your future. And what if I tell you that the secret might lie in small daily changes? It's not about magic, but a simple and powerful strategy. Get ready because the transformation starts now. Don't look away. This is the first step towards a new reality. If you're ready to leave procrastination behind, I will guide you. Let's embark on this journey of self-discovery and action together. What are you waiting for? Identifying the causes of procrastination. Sometimes I find myself wondering why I put certain things off. What holds me back from acting? I've realized that fear of failure is one of the major reasons. The thought of not being able to complete a task or not meeting a standard I set for myself is frightening. This causes me to hesitate, and instead of facing the challenge, I choose to distract myself. It's a vicious cycle that, no matter how much I try to avoid, always catches me off guard. Another reason that stands out is lack of motivation. There are days when I simply don't feel like doing anything. Energy seems scarce, and tasks pile up. When I look at a long list of obligations, the feeling of overwhelm can be paralyzing. It's like staring at an insurmountable wall. What do? Often, I end up procrastinating, hoping that motivation will appear on its own, which rarely happens. Then comes the burden of tasks. Modern life is so full of commitments that sometimes I feel suffocated. Work, studies, family, and still needing to find time for myself. When the to-do list becomes too extensive, procrastination seems like the only way out. Instead of tackling one task at a time, I end up putting everything off, hoping that time will help me resolve it. However, time is not my ally, and I realize that I'm only piling on more pressure. Understanding these causes is the first step to breaking this cycle. An honest look at what holds me back from acting is essential. By identifying these fears and barriers, I can start working through them. It's an exercise in self-awareness that, although painful, is liberating. Recognizing that procrastination is a reaction to these causes helps me direct my energy towards overcoming them. So, whenever I catch myself procrastinating, I pause and ask, what's holding me back right now? This simple question helps clear my mind and often motivates me to take the first step. After all, understanding the reasons behind procrastination brings me one step closer to overcoming it. Setting clear and realistic goals. Setting goals is a fundamental step in combating procrastination. When I have a clear objective in mind, it's easier to direct my energy and focus. Recently, I started using the SMART methodology, which has helped me create goals that truly make sense. The first element, being specific, means that it's not enough to say, I want to exercise. I need to detail, I want to run for 30 minutes, 3 times a week. This clarity gives me direction. In addition to being specific, measurability is crucial. It's satisfying to be able to measure my progress. When I establish that I want to lose 5 kilograms in 3 months, I have a benchmark to track. Each week, I can weigh myself and see if I'm on the right path. This motivates me to continue, as I can see results, even if they are small. The feeling of making progress is powerful and helps me maintain focus. The issue of achievability also cannot be ignored. It's important that the goals are challenging but not impossible. If I set a goal that is far beyond what I can achieve, the frustration will be great, and consequently, the tendency to procrastinate increases. Therefore, I've learned to set goals that are realistic and attainable with effort. The relevance of the goals is another point that makes all the difference. They need to have a meaningful purpose for me. When I understand why a goal is important, my motivation increases. For example, if my objective is to save money for a trip, that motivation drives me to act. The emotional connection with the goal is fuel that pushes me to take action. Finally, the temporal factor cannot be overlooked. Establishing deadlines for goals creates a sense of urgency. I realized that without a deadline, the tendency is to procrastinate. By setting a goal to complete a project in a month, for example, it forces me to organize my time and commit. Having a due date helps me stay focused and avoid the procrastination that often arises when there is no set time. Time management techniques. When it comes to managing time, I've learned that having a plan is crucial. One of the techniques that has helped me the most is the Pomodoro technique. Do you know how it works? Basically, you work intensely for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Sounds simple, but this small change made a big difference in my productivity. During those 25 minutes, I disconnect from all distractions, cell phone, social media, everything. And when the break arrives, I get up, stretch my legs, and drink some water. It's like my brain resets with each cycle. In addition to the Pomodoro technique, I started using to-do lists. At the beginning of the day, I write down everything I need to do and cross them off as I complete them. It's an incredible feeling to see the list shrink. Sometimes, I even include simple tasks I've already done, just to enjoy the satisfaction of crossing them off. And you know what else? Prioritizing these tasks also helps a lot. I place the most important tasks at the top of the list and those that can wait at the bottom. This way, I don't waste time on what isn't essential. Another point I discovered is the importance of setting fixed times for activities. This creates a routine that, for me, acts as a guide. When I know, for example, that at 2 p.m. I will dedicate myself to my project, I stay more focused. It's as if my body and mind are already programmed for that time. And believe me, this structure helps combat the temptation to procrastinate. Technology can also be an ally. There are apps that help organize tasks and track time. I tried a few, and honestly, they made my life easier. With reminders and notifications, I stay on track. Sometimes all we need is a little push. Lastly, it's essential to learn to say no to distractions. This can be a challenge, especially when friends or family want to chat. But I've realized that by being firm about my time, I can be more productive. This helps create a mental space where I can really dive into my activities. Developing positive habits, cultivating positive habits is undoubtedly one of the keys to combating procrastination. I started implementing small daily routines that, little by little, transformed my day-to-day life. For example, right after waking up, I dedicate a few minutes to meditate. This helps me clear my mind and prepare for what's ahead. The practice of mindfulness keeps me more present and aware of my actions. In addition to meditation, I've found that self-motivation is crucial. Sometimes, motivation doesn't come naturally, so I seek out sources that inspire me. It could be a podcast, a book, or even a conversation with someone I admire. When I connect with positive ideas, I feel a wave of energy that drives me to act. It's as if I'm re-energized to tackle the day's tasks. Another thing I started doing was reviewing my goals. At the end of each week, I take time to reflect on what I've accomplished and what's still pending. This not only helps me stay focused, but also makes me aware of how much I've progressed. Constructive self-criticism is an important part of this process. I look at the challenges and try to learn from them instead of letting them bring me down. Creating a conducive environment is also essential. I organized my workspace so that everything I need is within reach and free from clutter. A clean and organized environment not only boosts productivity, but also gives me a sense of control. And, of course, incorporating small moments of pleasure, like a healthy snack or some music, makes work feel lighter. Finally, consistency is what really makes the difference. Habits don't form overnight, but with practice and dedication, they become second nature. I committed to following these routines daily, and over time, I noticed that discipline became easier. This made me feel more fulfilled and less prone to procrastination. Continuous self-assessment and reflection, one of the things that helped me break the vicious cycle of procrastination was self-assessment. In the beginning, I didn't realize how important it was to look back at what I had accomplished. It was as if I was always running but didn't know where I was going. I started setting aside time, at least once a week, to reflect on what I had achieved and what was still pending. This simple practice helped me become aware of my progress while also identifying where I was falling short. During these reviews, I used to jot everything down in a notebook. It may seem like an insignificant detail, but having a physical record of my achievements and challenges made a huge difference. Seeing everything written down gave me a sense of accomplishment, no matter how small the task. It was as if each little mark I made next to a completed task was a small victory that motivated me to keep going. And when I looked at my pending tasks, instead of feeling overwhelmed, I began to see opportunities for improvement. Another thing I realized was that self-evaluation is not just about seeing what went right. It's also a moment of honesty with myself. Sometimes I found myself making excuses for certain procrastinations, but upon reflection, I realized that many of them were just that, excuses. This self-analysis helped me be more rigorous with myself, but without falling into the trap of destructive self-criticism. I learned to view mistakes as an important step in the learning process. Adjusting strategies became a fundamental part of my reflection process. If something wasn't working, instead of insisting on it, I began to think of alternatives. For example, if the Pomodoro technique wasn't helping me as I expected, I would try dividing tasks differently or changing the duration of the sessions. This flexibility allowed me to not only be more productive but also more creative when facing challenges. Finally, the continuity of this self-evaluation and reflection process became a habit. Each week, I felt that I was not only tracking my progress but also getting to know myself better. And the more I got to know myself, the easier it became to set realistic and motivating goals. This connection between self-evaluation and personal growth is what truly drives me forward, even when procrastination tries to pull me back. So, my friend, now that we've talked about the best strategies to overcome procrastination, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what is really holding you back? Sometimes, fear or insecurity can be the biggest enemies. But remember, every step, no matter how small, is progress on your journey. So how about starting right now? Choose a task you've been putting off and make a small progress. You'll be surprised by the sense of accomplishment. And here's a challenge. Write in the comments what action you will take today. Let's share this experience together. Also, think about which habits you can change to maintain this energy. How about creating a morning routine that motivates you? Or perhaps finding an accountability partner? The important thing is to take action. And before you go, I want you to remember, procrastination does not define who you are. You have the power to change this story. So, how about taking the first step and committing to yourself? I'll see you next time, and until then, go ahead and make it happen.